Hello folks, and welcome to another evening of Centuries Past. Today we have a very special episode where we'll be taking a look at one of the most dense and tense decades of the last century.
If you ain't got the swing, it don't mean a thing. All you gotta do is sing. Make no difference if you be sweet or hot. Just give that fiddle everything you got.
During the 50s, the political situation was a bit tense since the east side of Europe was a bit aggressive toward the west side of Europe, and the west side of Europe was aggressive to the east side, especially the United States, which is not in Europe but doesn't count, and the Soviet Union, or Russia as it's called today, had a bit of a twist during the borders and some different things, and there was some nukes involved, and it was a bit of chaos. And most people were very tensed and very scared in this situation, and we're going to see how this affected the people in question. So William, how did this affect the families that lived in the States?
Funny that you brought up the subject of the nuclears, because the 1950s was a big change in the family life, because it came up like a new word. Nuclear family was the new word for a typical family. Like in Sweden you call it a Svensson, and the nuclear family was you have a mom and dad and two children of difficult genders, who the dad goes out and pays all the bills, mom's home and cooks and cleans, and the kids are home building tree house, having tea party with their stuffed animals. So there's this was the first time a picture of a normal family came up, and we still have this picture in these days. So 1950s were really a big change in the family life.
So the kind of ideal family, or the classical family we have today, was formed during the 50s.
Yeah, the nuclear family was the original from the picture we have today in Europe, America, and all around the world.
Was it called nuclear because of the Cuba crisis?
Yeah, because after the Cold War broke out, why you had this nuclear family was because when you only had two children was more easier to when a nuke came, it's easier to get to a shelter when there's less people in the family, and the America supported the 4 people family, because if everyone in America was 4 people, it should be more easier when a nuke broke out, in shelters and so on.
I see. And moving on with the youths, how did it how did the young people take interest and affect by these events?
Well, during the 50s, the word teenager became a thing for the first time, and they started to break out of the family, because all media and stuff was either for grown-ups or for kids. There was no in between. So they had to create their own sort of culture.
And what did they create?
Well, they created rock and roll, or the first steps of it.
Okay.
And parents didn't like this, of course, because there were all these examples of bad influences. And they didn't want their kids to become criminals, essentially.
And you mentioned rock and roll, so I'm going to use this moment to speak about music. And here we have Alfredo as our expert. What was the music taste back then? Did it have an effect from the political step?
Yes, the music had it was a little bit affected by the politics, I guess. And like Pelle said about rock and roll, it was the kind of thing that teenagers would listen to, because it's kind of the cool thing, the parents did. It was oh no, that's bad for you, bad influence. With, for example, Elvis Presley, he was kind of bad influence, and he was also the first one on TV, shaking his hips and stuff. And yeah, everyone was like, oh, why did he do that? Oh, like, you know what I mean?
So it was a bit of a youth rebellion with
Yeah,
the music,
exactly.
so to speak.
Yeah.
Oh, interesting. Speaking of youth, how about the clothing? Was there anything remarkable about the 50s clothing that we do not have today?
Well, for the most part, they stuck to the 40s, but they also improved on the 40s. They took the dresses with the waistband, and then they kept them for the most part. But they also had like all the clothes were just one color. It was the thing with the 50s. Everything was mostly one color or two sets of colors in a pattern. Like dresses with spots, just normal dresses, dresses with stripes. That was mostly it. And the men had a lot of blazers, ties, jeans, mostly one color, like brown jeans or blue or black jeans, I don't know, a matching blazer.
How much of the fashion from the 50s do you think we can see in the modern society?
Well, there's quite a lot of it, but this was the part when the youth started wearing a lot of jewelry, and we still wear a lot of jewelry. Normal jewelry, not like the really expensive kind, but we don't wear as many hats as they did. They wear quite a lot of hats, like everyone had a hat. If you didn't, you were not a man, so to speak. And well, not all women had to wear one, but quite a lot did. We have quite gotten past the 50s, so to speak. We don't use that many gloves anymore. They had a lot of gloves, waistbands we don't use. Yeah, that's pretty much it.
Okay.
There's a lot more, but
Yeah.
to be brief.
Now the food industry, I'm a bit interested about, since if I was in a nuclear situation when I know, okay, Russia's going to launch a nuke at me, I would plan ahead thinking, okay, I want a shelter, but I also want food to have in the shelter when I need to run down there. So long-term food, maybe something to grow. Is this something that you can see in the 50s in the food industry as well, Bolle?
Actually, the 50s was a big thing in the 50s because now then refrigerator were a like new thing and people like had afford for it. So the fast food was like blowing up on the market. Like, buy this fast food. Whoa, it's all good, so good, because you have never seen what I mean was like cold food, not fast food. Like it's you put in the refrigerator and you warm it up because it was like so new that you could like prepare a meal, just like heating it up and like eat it. And there was like a thing called the TV meat or something. You bought it from they made commercial and you like eat it and you watch a specific show for it, and there were so many. It was like blowing up. It's all crazy. And another thing that was blowed up in the 1950s were the fast food, because McDonald's came up in the 50s. And you know how it is today with the fast food in America.
Was the fast food as a big of a thing and as bad as it is today as it was then?
The first McDonald's was like an originally like barbecue place. You order burgers, and then it got more expensive and expensive. So McDonald's like made these big cow farms, and that it's like the start of these animal abuse things in the 50s when McDonald's tried to make big cow farms and so.
Interesting. Before we move on, we're gonna have a quick commercial break. We'll see you after that.
Any place, any time is a good time for Coke.
Only Coca-Cola gives you that refreshing new feeling. Refreshing new feeling. Refreshing new feeling.
Right, I'm a bit more interested in this fashion part, because if you look down at pictures from the old days, everyone had these like, I get the picture of, Al Capone with the black suit and the white stripes and like the hat.
Yeah.
It felt like the fashion was very one line, like everyone kind of wore the same thing. Was that like, is that just an image you get from looking, or is it like today when a lot of people like branch out and do a different thing, or was it like the majority had the same clothes?
No, the 50s, everyone wore pretty much the same thing. If there were even ads or that you were not a man if you didn't have a certain kind of hat. So you had to have the hat, and that that's partly why everyone had one. And all the men had jeans and these bracers and ties pretty much to show how manly they were when they were outside. And the women had a lot of all dress with a waistband. Pretty much every dress had a waistband, so it went out and just single collar. Just
During the last century, like the 19th, you could see a lot of fashions in different countries be inspired by the military uniforms. For example, in Russia, a lot of the popular fashion was having the uniform that you got from the military. Was this a thing you could see in the United States as well?
No, not really. Not really, no.
Okay. And when it comes to youth, did fashion infect the youth as well? Did they have a different brand from the adults?
Yeah, they kind of did. They went with this rebellious thing, so they tried to create their own style, which even more reflected on the bad influence part from earlier. So yeah, they tried to create their own style, but it wasn't that big with clothes because nothing was produced that was different.
Okay.
So, yeah.
And Alfredo, back to the music here. When you look at how much music there were, the majority of people, did they listen to the same kind of music? Or, for example, in modern society we have rap, we have rock, we have blues, we have jazz, we have a lot of different genres. Did the most people listen to the same kind of music, or did they have this broad choice?
I would say it totally depended on what generation you were in. If you were in your teens, then yeah, everyone would listen to rock because it was the big thing. It was blowing up and stuff, and the adults kept listening to the old stuff, which yeah.
Okay, so it was a bit of a broad mix, but it depended more on the ages than the taste of music, so to speak. Volle.
Yeah.
About the families, since we've discussed the different ages here, that some listen to some kind of music and some wear these kind of clothes, did the differences between the ages in tastes of music and how they dressed affect how they were to each other? Were the teens rebellious against their parents, for example?
Well, I read some about the elders when the rock and roll came. It was the music from hell, and it was a big thing when rock came. It was a big change in the family lives when it came to that. But I don't know how how they treat each other. It didn't change at all, I think, with the music thing, but more with it's the music from hell and so on. But I don't really know so much of that.
So the parents were probably a bit critical with the music.
Yeah, I think so.
They were extremely critical.
I would say it would be they were kind of rebellious for listening to rock and roll. That would be probably the most rebellious thing that they do.
It was kind of in the situation where if you started listening to rock and roll, you could be disowned by your own family.
Okay, as a finishing kind of thing, I want you to think about your area and pick something that you think has the biggest difference from today back to the 50s. What has changed the most? And we can start with Andreas.
Well, they only had everything was a single color. The 50s, single color. Men wear bracers and jeans. Women wear dresses.
And the difference today has gone to
everyone. We can wear whatever we want, pretty much. We are not limited to a few sets of colors.
Okay.
Yeah.
So the majority, how much there is to choose from, has kind of made the difference. Okay.
You have much more choice.
Yeah. During the 50s, teens was marginalized and didn't really have anything to say about anything, and nobody cared about what they wanted, so they had to create their own thing. Whereas today, most commercials and everything is either targeted at children or teens. Mostly teens, because they have the money.
So you feel like society has shifted their view from the adults to the teens?
Yeah, exactly, because teens is an easier market.
Okay.
It's just how it is.
And Alfredo?
I would say with music, for example, music videos, everyone went crazy when Elvis shaked his hips. For example, now, there's always a woman with 2 pair of clothing on her, yeah. It's
So the sexualization, objectification of the person has gone too far.
Yes.
Okay, yeah, I can see. And Volle, when it comes to food and family, what's the biggest
with the
difference?
family, I think what have changed to today's society with more with like the mother. It's not like the mother's home cooks and cleans today. It's more like they go to work too, and now the family priority is bigger, and you can have. It's more like normal to have more than 2 children that it was like with a nuclear family. And with the food, I think the fast food is like, it have not changed so much, like on only the menus, like on when McDonald's came up, and like with other like the freezing food and stuff. Like I don't think the food was like a big thing then, but I don't see any so big change. No.
Okay. Thank you for watching this episode of Through the Centuries, and I thank you for watching, and I'd like to give a few words from our sponsors. Rocket Cars, really appreciate it to check out their shop. It's on the development of Market Street 15, and also McDonald's gives their regards. Now, thank you to our guests, and thank you to the audience, and we'll see you next week, same channel, same time.